Hi, everybody. Hello. How are you doing? It is good to see you. Let's see. Great. Soundboard is working. And Cake is here. Stephanie Cake, how are you doing?
I am doing well.
Good.
I'm freezing my tushy off over here, which I think everybody on the East Coast might be feeling it. I guess people north of me are having it worse because my husband quoted a temperature to me I didn't know was possible.
Oh, really? What is it? Is it really that bad? It's
like negative 100 at the
What?
top of some mountain in Vermont. I was like,
-100.
that sounds made up. That's like saying it's a gazillion degrees below zero outside.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta make sure you're turned up all the way.
But apparently it's for real.
Yeah, it was pretty cold here the other day, and now it's a little bit better. And I hope wherever you are, you're staying warm or staying cool, or just you gotta stay cool. You gotta be cool. Stay cool. And we have a good time here on Quilt Nerd. So if whatever is ailing you, whatever's bothering you, you're too hot, you're too cold, you're stressed out, you're feeling a type of way about something, let me tell you, I have a really good show for you tonight. We gather here today on Twitch and on YouTube and Facebook too. We stream sort of a little bit over there as well because technology allows us to do that, and that's very nice. Our headquarters are here on Twitch because I love this platform. I love the way that it is safer than YouTube. It's safer. I was talking to Eric about that today, talking about how, because he's really done a lot with OBS stuff. Like he's like into it. Like he's learning all this functionality for streaming software. You guys don't have to worry about it. But it's really interesting. And like I said to him, I was like, I think I know I am spoiled, and I think the whole show, like I think we just have never really had to deal with trolls and bots like porn bots and stuff, like in YouTube live streams that I watch when they're streaming on YouTube, sort of like if that's their main platform. I see a lot of mean stuff, and like weird stuff, and Twitch is really good about keeping that out. So that's really great, and I really like I don't know, I just like using Twitch because it's an alternative. You know what I mean? So we do this on Twitch, and if you want to subscribe to the show and support the show with a subscription, this is where you do it. So don't be afraid if you haven't used Twitch before. It's just a platform like anything else. So we're here, and the show is about quilts, but we don't teach you how to make quilts on Quilt Nerd. We talk about quilts. Like for example, tonight we're going to talk about studios, quilter studios. A few of them, right? We're gonna I found some really great pictures of quilter studios, and that led me into thinking about this. I want to talk about this book, this extraordinary book that we've talked about before, but I had a revelation about this particular book, and so I spent like a really long time scanning in photos from this book for you. So we're going to look at these photos. That's one thing I love about this platform and this live stream video medium, right? Is that because we're quilt people, and we like to look at history and photographs from history and quilts, and they're so beautiful and colorful. And so on this kind of a program, we can do that. We can actually look at them while we talk to them live, and you can comment on them and ask questions about what we look at. And I just love it. I think it's perfect for quilt nerds. So I mean, what can you say about that, except it's perfect, and everybody should become a subscriber so the show can be on for a very long time. I have a couple announcements, but I'm going to keep it really quick because I'll be able to talk about this throughout the month of February. There's a big thing coming up on the 7th of March. I don't know what time yet, and somebody very dear to me asked me a question about like the timing of the day on March 7th, and I'm figuring that out. On March 7th, my mom and I are going to be in Los Angeles, and we are going to go see the American Quilt Stories Fabric of a Nation quilt exhibit that's at the Skirball Cultural Center. We've gotten permission to live stream from the exhibition. That's a big deal. The Museum of Fine Arts Boston did this quilt show, Fabric of a Nation, in 2021. There's an amazing book that came out in 2022 about the exhibit, and a portion of the exhibit is going to be at this cultural center, and it's through March 12th. It's there right now, so if you want to go, you got to go. The quilt show at the Skirball Cultural Center. But my mom and I are going to go. We've got our tickets. We've got our hotel. oh my God, and we're gonna go, and the Fine Arts Museum of Boston is okay with us streaming, and the Skirball's okay with us streaming. It's just a really big deal. But it's just not, but, you know, and it's a subscriber stream only. So it's a VIP stream for subscribers. You know, stuff like that, it takes money. And like, yeah, Moms Along should probably like, you know, probably buy me lunch, you know, and stuff like that. But it takes money to get the gear out there and like bring it to you and pay for the streaming service that I need to use to bring you the content. So if you like this content, if you're excited about that, if you're a subscriber already, God bless you, I appreciate you. And if you are not a subscriber, and you value that, like, it's really great, you know, if you value content creators and what they make. It's kind of the world we live in, you know. It's like if you watch a thing, you have so many choices. It's like, I like that thing. I think that's what I don't like Hulu. Hulu is terrible, but that Mary Fons show, that one is really great. So I hope that can be something to look forward to for you. The other thing is, I am not great at promoting things that I'm doing. Tomorrow, I'm driving to Mattoon, Illinois, Mattoon. Mattoon, Illinois. I was there once years ago. The Mattoon Arts Council. Mattoon is a very interesting place. They have this incredible arts council and arts scene. I taught quilting there years ago, and Julia, the woman who organized everything, was delightful. Anyway, she called me a while ago and said, will you come back? Will you do a quilt lecture on Sunday night, February 5th at 6 o'clock in Mattoon? I said, yes, absolutely. I will do an evening with Mary Fons. Yes, I will do that. Tomorrow in Mattoon, Illinois at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Mattoon Arts Council is putting that on. And then on Monday, I get to do one of my favorite things ever, which is talk to high school students. So I'm going to talk to them about stage. I have a workshop called Stage Crush. You know, crush any performance on stage that you could possibly find yourself needing to crush. And so I get to do this really cool thing, this workshop twice on Monday. So anyway, but that's special for the students. But tomorrow night, you know, if you're in driving distance of Mattoon, Illinois, come over and, you know, hang out. I know it's short notice, but I don't think about, you know, I don't think about it. Anyway, and then also on Monday at noon, Cake, I just thought of this before as I hit live, I was like, don't forget to talk about Mattoon. I'm going to be on the radio. So on noon, I'm going to be on the radio at the campus. I'll find that. I'll find that detail. Yeah, I will. It's on my itinerary. Oh yeah. I'll find it, and so you can tune in, and it's like a half an hour. You know, it's not a real in-depth. I mean, it's a half an hour, but it's going to be really fun, and I'll talk about quilts, and I'll talk about the show, and I'll talk about all those kinds of things on the show. So let's see, itinerary. Itinerary. I'll find it, and I will tell you that on Monday. I'll tell you when the thing is. Okay. Thanks, Stephanie. So bring the bookmarks, Mother Nature. That's a good idea. Grits and Butters here, and Wonky Quilter's here, and Sherlock's here, and Jill. Jill, God bless you. You're too good to me, girl. Quilts is here. Hey, Eva's there. And anybody who's watching on YouTube and Facebook, I want to welcome you. It's hard for me sometimes to see the different platforms chats come in, but if I don't say hi to you, it's because I didn't see it or something. So that's why you should come to Twitch, because I'll always see it that way. But I really just want you to know that I appreciate you watching on a different platform, and I don't always see the name come through my software. Okay, but I'm glad you're here. So we said the Skirball thing. I'm going to be in Mattoon tomorrow, and now I have something very, very special to play for you. It is a video that I made this like a couple hours ago, and it is it's a video about a field trip that I took today, and Stephanie, because I was so rushed, because I was like kind of freaking out. Oh, I know where it is. I didn't even tell you this, and I give Steph the skinny on what's happening, you know, and we talk before the show, you know, about like the day, right? Because we're preparing, but it was a little bit hectic today, so I didn't even tell you about this. So you're gonna see it along with everybody else. I went to see Bertha Mextrath's house. Yeah, Bertha. Yeah. because she lived in Glencoe, you see. And movies, okay. She lived in Glencoe, Illinois. And this person that I'm researching, Bertha Mextrath, she lived...
And that is a suburb, right?
It is a suburb
of Chicago?
Yep, it's a suburb. And, sorry, I'm just trying to find this thing. I thought it was right where I needed it, but it's all right. Bertha's crib. That's what I called it, so surely it will come up soon. Anyway, Bertha Mextrath was an amazing quilter that I'm researching, and she lived in Glencoe, Illinois, and I'm here in Chicago. And so it seemed like the thing to do, of course, to go see the house where she lived for a long time. Glencoe was maybe 35 minutes from where I live. But what's kind of crazy, here it is, I found it, is I don't have a car. Eric and I don't have a car. We don't need one particularly. When we do have an errand that we need to run, we will get a zip car or something. But we haven't needed a car for anything, and I can't really justify, like, you know, I don't know, renting a car just to drive up and drive back. I don't know. It's like too far to take a cab, and it's too much to rent a zip car for like $70, you know, for 2 hours or something. So we hadn't done it. Well, I need a car to go to Mattoon tomorrow, and I needed to rent it today. So I had the ability to drive up to Glencoe and back. You know, it's not that I'm going to charge them the gas, you know, for this trip, but I mean, you know, anyway, I had a car. I had to get the car today. So I was like, oh my God, let's take a field trip and go to Glencoe and look at Bertha Mextrath's house. Let's do like a drive-by view, you know? So we did. And I made a video. I know, everybody. Robin, hi. I know. Babe, hi. We just cruised by. We didn't knock on the door. But here's the thing. So let me roll that beautiful bean footage because here we go. I'm going to play it for you. And then we'll look at that quilt that you see before you, which is just bananas, isn't it? All right, here we go. So let me get this pulled up. Yep. It's oh, somebody liked the stream. Oh, Sherry, thank you so much for liking the stream. I'm really glad that you're watching. This show's a crack up. That's what we call it. Okay, this is called Peepin' Bertha's Crib. And I think you're gonna enjoy it. Okay, I hope so. God help me if this works. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, wait. Yeah, here we go. Oh, let me disappear. I'm gonna disappear. Kathleen, oh my gosh, thank you so much for liking the stream. I'm going to make that smaller so it doesn't cover up anything. Okay, I'm going to cover myself up, and that's easy. I can do that. That's no problem. Here I go. Okay, and then I'll make that alert box just a little smaller so we don't get too carried away here. I wanted to make sure to give people credit for when they subscribe and like and all those wonderful things, but we can make it a little bit smaller down here. Okay. All right, you ready? Here we go. Mary and Eric take a Quilt Nerd field trip of a different sort. Or Peepin' Bertha's Crib. I'm gonna hide the chat. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so we're on Park. Are we on Park?
Yeah.
We're on Park Avenue in Glencoe. Where is it?
Glencoe, in what state?
In Illinois.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. And we're looking for Bertha Mextrath's house. It's so close to the lake. Can I flip it around? No, I can't. Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Hi.
Pretty sure.
No, I can't. I don't want to screw it up. Can't I? No, I can't.
Not.
Okay. So but I'll show how close we are to the lake. It's so fancy. It's so fancy. Oh my God. Casa Tranquilla. There it is. There it is. Yes. Yep. I saw it in a pic. Wow. Oh my God. Oh, that's where she lived. We're gonna come around. OMG. I bet that little sun porch is where she did her quilt shows.
For sure.
We're gonna flip around, and I don't know where to look. We're gonna flip around, and I'm gonna film it. And I'm gonna write a letter to the people who live there. I've got a plan. Yeah. Because I gotta go in. And I know how to pick a lock. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, hang on. I do not. Look, there it is! There it is. Oh my God, this is the creepiest thing I've ever done in my life. That's where she lived. So it's like Tudor. Y'all, that is where Bertha Mextrath lived. She lived. Hey, Bormalee, thank you for following. That is where Bertha Mextrath, the quilter that I'm researching, lived for a long time, okay? So there's going to be some stats down at the bottom of the screen for just so you know, like, about the house. But anyway, okay, but that's where she lived. And you see that little sun porch, like, on the right? On my screen, it's like on the right. I think it's on the right for your screen. That, I just imagine that she had, like, the tea, you know, for the ladies when she would, like, show. Anyway, okay, there's more to see. Okay.
Tutor. But not Casa Tranquilla. So
it had a name. They called it Casa Tranquilla. Casa Tranquilla. Okay, built in 1929. Sorry. Okay.
Somebody's home. God, it's so weird. So it was like Spanish mission style inside, they said, like I read, but I don't know what Spanish mission style is, and that doesn't look Spanish to me, does it? I don't know what Spanish houses look like. It's huge. Good God. It's fabulous. I'm so excited. It's really a big house.
It's so big.
Wow. Okay. And what about the block? Okay. So honey, can we turn around one more time and then go down to the lake, like to the lakefront?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to see like what she would do as she walked along. I mean, it's just a very, very nice place to live.
Pump Daddy!
And I look like I'm casing the joint, and I kind of am. Interesting.
Okay, I've got some questions. Jay Kazan's here. Didn't she live with her sister and her brother-in-law in that house? Jay Kazan has a very good question.
That's what I do. I invented posting.
Her sister, well, I talk about this a little bit in the video, but her sister bought her that house. This is what I understand. Her sister and her brother-in-law bought her that house. So I'll actually talk about the sister and the brother-in-law here to Eric in just a second. Pump Daddy 69. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. It's been a long time. Pump Daddy 69 is a very enigmatic figure in this show. He shows up. We don't know if he's gonna troll. He never does. He's kind. He's polite. We love him. I don't see you enough, Pump Daddy. I'm serious. Okay. Let's listen.
So we're gonna turn around one more time, and we're gonna go to the lake because it's
Which
really
lake?
close. Lake Michigan.
He said which lake? My husband said which lake? Let's tap it back. Hold on. Oh, what a dork.
And we're gonna go to the lake because it's
Which
really
lake?
close. Lake Michigan. Yeah. So we're gonna turn out. Oh my God, it's so fancy. So as I may have said, I don't even know who this video is for, but it's a documentation. Richard Sears was her brother-in-law, and he...
Who's?
Bertha Mextrath.
Oh, thank you.
Bertha Mextrath's sister married Richard Sears of Sears and Roebuck. Okay. The house is so close
Right
to
in
the
the
lake.
shawl.
Like, the closer you get to the lake.
Yes. So, Richard Sears of Sears and Roebuck. Yes, Carrie Dell. Oh, yeah. Hi, Carrie Dell. So, yes, Richard Sears of Sears and Roebuck. So, Anna, Bertha Mextrath's sister, Anna, married Mr. Sears, Richard Sears. And in Bertha's papers that I'm reading, she called him the Merchant Prince. The Merchant Prince. Bertha did. She called him the Merchant Prince. And so, apparently, they are the ones who bought her the house. So, we're going to look at the house again. Okay. Hey, Jan. Hey, everybody.
Kind of reminds me of Winterset.
Winterset?
Winterset is the house, the town where I grew up, and Eric just said it reminds him of Winterset.
It's fancy.
Well, you got these yards and houses.
It's true, there are yards, but there ain't no hedgerows.
like
Winterset
our
ain't got a
Winterset.
damn hedgerow in the
Okay.
place.
I don't know what a hedgerow is.
Well, it's hedges. Isn't the Pink Floyd? There's a song about hedgerows. That's a lyric. There's a lyric. Interesting. Wow.
There it is again.
Oh yes, exactly.
Yeah.
See, and all these houses, I'm sure, we're here. Look how close we are. She's almost. I mean, she's a block from the lake. As though she's alive. Look at this lakefront park. I'm sure it was always here. Interesting. Wow. Look at that. Good work if you can get it, man.
So I wanted to come out here, and the video's almost done, but I wanted to come out, well, obviously to see the house, but also, it's to me, it's so important if I'm researching this person and I want to write something of consequence. Like, what was her life like? We've talked about this before, right? I mean, it's like, you know, she was right by the lake. She came here. She looked here. What was her life like? That was her life. Right here. She came, I mean, it was a block away from the lake. And she had polio as a child, and so she had kind of a limp thing. So you know, so it's like, I don't know what kind of physical, you know, challenges she might have had, but like, wow, like she could go and be in nature like that, you know, and it was, anyway, it's just all very interesting. I took notes.
Nice.
Okay,
Enjoy it. Looked like a gravestone.
Welcome to Glencoe Beach.
Welcome to Glencoe Beach.
Yes, Jill. Yes.
Go skiing.
Some people got it real good. But everybody's still like gonna die, and everybody has bad days and stuff. So even if you have a nice fancy house, and think of the taxes. I'd hate living here, actually.
Terrible.
It'd be terrible.
Okay. Now, this is important. This is the last thing, and this is so important because it involves everyone here, and I need your help. Okay, let's take a look.
What I'm gonna do is I'm going to, on Quilt Nerd tonight, I'm going to, I'm gonna ask people who watch the show to fill out a form, a Google form, vouching for me as a person who is who I say I am. Are you suggesting I'm not who I say I am? What is that from?
Are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am? I'm
So that when the
suggesting
cops
you leave.
pick you up?
Yeah, exactly. Wait for it. I'll explain better. Okay, hang on. I was so happy that I remembered what that quote was from. Okay, whoops, okay.
Vouching for me as a person who is who I say I am. Are you suggesting I'm not who I say I am? What is that from?
Are you suggesting that I'm not who I say I am? I'm suggesting that you leave before I have to get snooty. Snooty? Snotty. Snotty?
Anyway, I'm going to have them, like, you know, I don't know what the form will say, but it's just that, like, yes, this person is, you know, Mary Fons is a quilt researcher. She is this person, like, because otherwise, because I want to go inside the house. I want to write a letter with documentation of, you know, Bertha Mextrath stuff, and I want to go inside. I want to look inside, but it's just such an odd thing to ask. Okay, here we go. We're coming up on downtown, center of town, and I want to see what that's like.
Okay, great. Okay, that's the video. Okay. Because I took video of it, I was like, well, I gotta make like a proper video. So I did the proper video. So, Cake, you are the first line of defense here. I hope you all enjoyed that. It was super fun. So I want to go inside the house. And I feel like let me get the chat back. I feel like I will send obviously a letter on my letterhead. And I know the address, which is easy. And it's not hard to figure out these things, but I couldn't quite figure it out. But Eric fully found who lives there, what they do for a living, like the internet. I mean, it's just like, oh God, it's creepy. But you know, I'll send, just like I've sent to anybody, like Barbara Benson, you know, this lady who did an exhibit of Bertha Mextrath's quilts, you know, she replied to me. Like everybody I've asked for help has replied, and I think it has something to do, I mean, I hope so. It has something to do with me being very clear about what I'm doing. I include pictures of Mextrath's quilts, and just like, you know, I tell a little bit about who I am. Like I introduce myself. I just try to keep things really easy for them to say yes, right? So I want to send a packet, a manila envelope full of stuff. You know, here's what I'm doing. Here's what this is. And she lived there. She lived where you live, and they might have some sense of that. I don't know. But I want to look through the house. And I feel like, do you think it makes sense? Or do you think it's a little much to have, like, if there's a Google form and, like, Quilt Nerds say, like this is a person who is researching this thing. Yeah, like almost like a petition. Like, talk to me. What is this? What am I doing? Right?
So, yeah, so it's not a change.org, it's a let me read in your house.
Exactly, because otherwise, like, there's a lot of true crime on television. Like, who am I? They have no idea who I am.
Yeah, so yes, people do, like journalists, I've seen this happen. Journalists go up to houses and, kindly explain what's happening. And sometimes people come to the door with shotguns and sometimes they don't.
Exactly.
But Jill actually had a really great suggestion. And I still think that you should reach out to them, like on your letterhead and everything.
Okay, yeah.
But she said maybe get in touch with the historical society there or whatever kind of, because the street of grand houses can't possibly be like, oh, we don't know who lives there. That shack,
Right.
Whoever lives there, somebody knows them.
Yes.
And, historical societies and really chambers of commerce and those kinds of things, they often will, if they don't know who lives there, they know somebody who knows somebody. But chances are, since you and Eric have stalked the house enough, and you guys, it is, for those of you that own your own home, do you not sometimes feel a little scared how easy it is to find out? I mean, it's public information.
It is. It really is.
It's a little easier to fly under the. If you rent.
Yeah.
But yes, when you own your own home, you really put yourself out there.
It's weird. It's really weird.
But thank goodness for public records, because otherwise you wouldn't know who these people are.
It's true. It's true. I wouldn't exactly. I couldn't get in touch with them and knock on their door. And we can move on from this soon, but I just was thinking, like, I don't know, like doing all of this with you and Cake, the Dr. Nutton stuff you're doing, like, it's way more fun with people. Like, I feel bad for anybody who has ever researched alone because it's so fun to share. And if you're doing a research project, I've said it before, but anytime you hear this sound, it's because, like, oh, there could be a research project like in the thing we're talking about here on Quilt Nerd, and you should look into it. Maybe you could like find something out about a quilt or a quilter that you really like. Maybe you'd write something about it. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd pass your research work on to somebody else who was interested in it. But it's so fun to talk about it. So if you ever are doing something and you want to talk about it on the show, 1,000%. 1,000% you are invited, right? And we'll figure it out. And the guest star feature on Twitch is really exciting. It's really fun. You can bring people visually, like on video, onto the show. But every time we've tried it, it's crashed the show. It's really new. It's a new functionality, and it's just not there yet. So, but we could do it via audio, whatever. So if you're doing a research project and you want help, or you want to just talk about it, you want ideas, this is a place. I would love to do that. How much fun would that be? Because, going by the house today and showing it to you all is so much fun. Otherwise it's just me, and Eric he cares, but he doesn't care. He was my chauffeur. So one thing I would love to do, Kate, do you mind, could you get the transcript from tonight? Because I feel like people are asking really good questions and like saying really good stuff, and I have been kind of like, and haven't looked at the chat as much, and I would so appreciate it. Yeah.
By the way, Quack Quack Cat just suggested that she got into her grandparents' house this way, which was dangling information exchange, which is people often, especially, I live in an old house. I would love it. I would not love it if the descendants of the people that lived here came to my house and said, hey, can I look around? Because I'd be like, hell no, this place is a mess. Yeah. If they wanted to know some, we could exchange some information, right? Like, I would love to know about the people that used to own my house.
That's true. Like, that's so true. It's so cool. Like, hey, this thing I know about your house is valuable. Yeah. Hey, that's true.
Maybe they don't care, but often people that live in nice, pretty houses like that, and it's a historical, they do care about it. They probably would be interested. And
what if there are quilts, like, buried under the floorboards? Doubtful? Possible.
What if they were like, we just found this big box of stuff in the basement. It said Bertha on it, and like we just threw it in the attic. But if you want it, you're welcome to it. That's the beautiful thing that can happen here.
That quilt should be in a museum. Isn't that Indiana Jones, right? It should be in a museum. Okay, he didn't talk like that, but you know what I mean. Thank you to everybody who's renewed their subscriptions. That is so amazing. I love it. And Robin, you've highlighted several chats that I haven't seen, but I am seeing them now, and that's why I want the transcript. Introduce yourself, Robin says. Maybe use your quilty photo, a current photo. You don't need the nerds to vouch for you. Yeah, that might be a little much. They might be like, this woman is extra. And they'd be right, but anyway. Okay, Chris Mess. Don't be a Billy Mitchell Carl. What is happening, Chris Mess? Text to a friend. Oh my God. Okay, good. I'm glad I saw that. All right, everybody. So I will make sure to read the comments because you all have very good things to say as always, and I just wanted to share that because it's exciting to actually like be like a gumshoe, right? Now I understand what Mary Kay Waldvogel and all those quilt detectives, Jonathan Holstein, and all you people who look into people's lives. I understand why now, because I've gotten a taste. I need more. It's so exciting. So this quilt, we usually start not with a video, but with an intro quilt. There's a quilt behind me that we like to talk about, and this one is wild, isn't it? Oh, excuse me. Hold on, a little bit wild there. This quilt is a yo-yo quilt. Yeah, those are yo-yos. Pictorial yo-yo, and I'm gonna leave it here. Just so you can kind of look a little bit more closely at the whole thing before we zoom in really close. So we have ducklings. We have ducks and ducklings on the borders. Okay. We have a basket of flowers here. There's, is it a bird in flight there? Oh, no, it's a rose. It's a rose with leaves, but perhaps the green has faded from the rose, the leaves on the rose. I see a bird perched on the rose. I think that's what I'm looking at there. And I'm going to do one thing here. View. Let's see. I'm going to exit full screen and then go back in because I just want to get that. Okay. Yeah. So then we have like a sky. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble. We have a sky up there. Maybe that's a bird. I'm not sure.
Do we know how big it is?
Yes, we do.
Do we know how big it is?
Yep.
Is this like it's bed size?
Yes, it is. Wait a minute. Actually, no, we do not know. It's from the Woodard and Greenstein book, the 20th Century Quilts. This was made in 1925, and they don't have dimensions on the quilts. Why is it doing that? They don't have dimensions in the quilts in that book. It's a really great book, but unfortunately they don't give that, which is odd. But here's what they say about it. Tiny bottle cap-like circles of fabric offer a unique collage of images, including mother ducks, their wings marked in yellow. Hang on, let me grab something real quick. I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to do something for y'all right now, which is going to make me a little bit happier, and I think you as well. Yeah, great. I'm like a DJ or something. Yeah, so here we go. So we've got ducks in yellow, with like yellow wings. So sorry, what did they say? They said mother ducks, their wings marked in yellow, lead parades of floating ducklings there around three sides. Interesting. A yellow-breasted bird perches on an enormous rose. There, you see, right there. He's looking up at the chat. He's looking directly at the chat, that bird. It's a little faded, right? The quilt is a little bit faded, perhaps. So it's a little bit hard to see that bird, maybe. They look like giant ducks. They do, Ivy. And then, so they go on, they say, a yellow-breasted bird perches on an enormous rose that dwarfs the basket of flowers at its left. Okay, yep, we saw that, the basket of flowers. Interesting. Peeking between the circles is a pink lining. Okay, that provides an additional color depth. Okay, so a pink lining. So there's a lining behind the yo-yos. Was that kind of what they're saying? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because when you connect to the yo-yos, there is that little gap.
Right.
You know, like if you connect them all and hold it up, it's like a screen because there's that little like gap in between them. So,
right.
Yeah,
okay.
they must be tacked down to a backing.
Yep. Yes, that makes sense, and you can kind of tell, right? I mean, there's not air through those yo-yos. Yeah, that's good. Peeking between the circles. Okay. Rather like a pointillist painting, this is a quilt whose images might be best viewed from a distance. From a distance. So is that a bird in flight? Like, do you see? Yeah, okay. Is that what you all are seeing too?
Yeah, it looks like it's one bird like sitting there, like kind of looking up, and the other one's flying above it.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's flowers like in the sky, but I think that that's just like a border or something. Yeah, maybe it's not the sky, it's just a border. Let's see. Let's see the whole thing again. Let me do this. Yeah, interesting. I mean, the border is so interesting, you know, this like irregular border. I mean, it's you know, it's regular, but it's not, you know, it's not square. It doesn't square off. It's got this sort of ruffled kind of thing going on. It's really interesting. Really interesting. The top is flat, Angelina. I noticed that too. Hey, Caitlin. Yeah. Who's made a yo-yo quilt? Who's done it? Have you done it, Cake?
Grits and Butter has.
Grits and Butter
I have not.
Any,
Grits and Butter says that it was a nightmare.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I agree, because yo-yos are kind of a nightmare.
I mean, each one, it takes a while because you have to like stitch and then pull, right? Each one.
Yeah, so you start with the bigger circle, and then essentially you're starting with a much bigger circle to make one that's like bottle cap size, because it's got to fold over
Right.
to the center.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And then the edges have to be turned under, you know, with the seam allowance, or, you know, turned under.
Yeah. The edges of the, like when you pull it together, you have to turn under the raw edge. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, typically, I mean, the way I learned how to make them is that you have the circle, and you have to turn the edges under like a quarter of an inch of the circle, and then you like hand stitch it, and then you pull those threads tight, and it finishes the edge of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a many step
Total nightmare,
process.
in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's little tools you can get, like a yo-yo maker or something, but does it help?
There are now.
Yeah.
And I have used it. Yes, it does help, because you know how, you've done applique, like trying to turn under the edges of something that's round.
Mm-hmm.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, yo-yo quilts, you know, and it caught my eye because I thought it was a cross-stitch quilt at first, and it kind of is. So we have kind of a fun thing with cross-stitch quilts here because, I don't know, we started looking at them. I was like, they're pixel quilts. And Stephanie Cake was like, I think they're called cross-stitch quilts. And then we started finding them everywhere, you know, and they're really interesting. And, you know, that's definitely a research project, the cross-stitch quilt. And if you want to do it, let me tell you, I have got a zillion images.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I feel like you should do
it.
I
don't want to step all over Nancy Crow, but ring the Twilight Zone bell,
Yes,
because
yes.
I did not have the Minnesota book, and so I just got the Minnesota book, the state quilt collection book, and I was looking at it, and they do have some of those I think there's at least one like she was the one who made the patterns for those some of those cross-stitch quilts.
Yes,
Remember the one that's like a basket?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, it looks like a Victorian basket with the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So they had one in there, and they referenced it as being inspired by cross-stitch patterns. Well, then I flip ahead in the book, and there are three actual cross-stitch quilts.
Really?
So it's where they've taken the fabric, and it's I don't know if anybody's done chicken scratch, which is where you cross-stitch on gingham. So they're like big cross-stitches. That's what these quilts look like, and apparently they were sold as kits too.
Wow.
So there are two different kinds of cross-stitch quilts.
I mean...
So yeah, somebody needs to research that.
They totally do. Hey, Wanda, thank you so much for liking the stream. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, like that... I play the goose sound when there's a research project, and the cross-stitch quilts. What fun that would be. You know, we've seen the Mother Goose one, and the Emma Andres one, the Woman at the Spinning Wheel, the red and white one. There's so many great quilts. And maybe, you know, that's the thing is, if you do research on a project and you don't end up doing anything with it particularly, you know, because you just like, I don't know, I never wrote a paper on it, or I never like did anything with it. It's okay. But if you are part of the Quilt Nerd community or American Quilt Study Group, you know, or like, then somebody else might be like, oh, I'm doing this research. You'd be like, I have so many things about that. I have so much stuff about that. Let me give you what I have. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay. So it's all worth something is what I'm trying to say. So tonight, I thought, I saw this picture of Nancy Crow because I have a book, and I have a book, and it's this book. I have several Nancy Crow books, and this one is just called Nancy Crow. That's right, isn't it, Cake? I mean, I gave you the list of books. Was I right about that? Here's the
Is it
the
Nancy Crow Quilts and Influences? Is Quilts and Influences like the subtitle?
No, it's
maybe I didn't get the right one.
I know. I don't think we have this. It's just called Nancy Crow, which is very confusing because there's lots of books, but it's just called Nancy Crow. And it's probably.
I'll have to look for the right one then.
Okay, look for the right one. There's many books. Hey Denise, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. So there's this book is very large and beautiful, and it's probably expensive. We get all our books through Abe Books, and we have an affiliate link. So if you get books through the links that Steph puts in the chat, then we get a few dollars. And so pennies. And so but I was looking through this book, and there's really good pictures of Nancy Crow in her studio. Okay, that's part of what's cool about this book. Now, I am not a like devoted Nancy Crow fan. I'm not like gaga about Nancy Crow, but obviously like she's great. Like she's Nancy Crow. She's really good. And if you don't know her work, you know, she's kind of like one of those quilt people who, I mean, I'm just gonna have a couple quilt nerds who are so nice to say that might help me with some video, you know, to make a video about Nancy Crow on YouTube. I mean, she kind of needs her own show. I mean, like, to talk about Nancy Crow, she has so much work. She's made so much work over the years, and I'm going to show you some of what she does. It's kind of hard to say. She is one of the first art quilters. She would be considered one of the first studio art quilters. And the difference between a traditional quilt and an art quilt, and we talk about the whole art versus craft thing a lot on this show. It just runs through the whole show. We don't talk about it specifically because it's kind of a theme. When you talk about quilts and art, you know, the difference between them. Is there a difference between art and craft? It comes up a lot. But I can tell you that to distinguish between traditional quilts and art quilts, the simplest way to say is that the art quilts are made for the wall. They're quilts made for the wall. They are art that is quilted. There are 2 or 3, usually 3 layers of textile quilted together. But they're never meant to go on a bed. They're meant to go on the wall of a museum or the wall of your home or a gallery or something like that, or a corporate building, Levi Strauss headquarters, you know, Philip Morris headquarters in New York City. You know, if you make a quilt for the wall, it can be classified as an art quilt. And Nancy Crow is very important in the history of that phenomenon, okay? And she teaches classes. I don't know how many classes she teaches per year anymore. She's a superstar. It's like La Crow, you know, she's like very special because she pushed boundaries. She really did. She pushed boundaries, and she was not the only person to do what she did, but she really is very, very talented. And what she also did was she started Quilt National. And Quilt National is an annual, biannual. Is it biannual? I think it's every other year. I'm pretty sure it's every other year. I really ought to know that, but I don't. I've never been, and I'd like to go very much. I'd like to go to Quilt National. It's at the Dairy Barn, which is a converted dairy barn, in Ohio. And just because we're nerdy around here and we kind of like to talk about these kinds of things, if you're talking about the art quilt movement and what that is and what it means, and I'm always learning things. That show is not a lecture, it's not a presentation, it's an exploration. I'm learning along with you. But you had some hot spots, okay, with the rise of the art quilt. There was California, big time, Southern California. These are Southern California in general, and a little bit in Massachusetts. Nancy Halpern, Michael James, and then Ohio too. You had some activity in Ohio, some persons of influence, persons of interest in Ohio. So Nancy Crow's in Ohio. So here's a picture of her studio. So I was thinking about studios. I was like, let's look at some pictures of people at work, okay? Because one of the things that I thought I wanted to say or just and think about in my own life, and like, do you have pictures of yourself in your studio? If you make quilts, like, have somebody take your picture. Like, have somebody take this picture of you. Or this picture. This is Jean Ray Laurie. What a great picture. It's like a candid photograph. Word and Bird Nerd. Hey, it's good to see you. So, scary, amazing. Yeah, exactly. Every other year. Thank you, Lisa Riggs. It's good to see you. Quilt Idaho. It's so good to see you. So, you know, I did it. I don't know when I did it. Maybe during the pandemic, like the first 5 months, 6 months of the pandemic. I took a picture of our house. I took a picture of each room because it was wild. You know, it was just so crazy, like what we were doing. You know, we had like a bale of paper towels, you know, in the closet. Not like we were hoarding, but we went to Costco and we bought the big thing, you know, of paper towels, which we don't usually need because we don't have any children and we have a small apartment, so we don't, you know, get that many paper towels. But I took pictures of things because I was like, I want to remember. And I think that's a good thing to do. Like, I want to know what Cake's studio looks like, and I want to see you in there. And so here we have some pictures. We have Nancy Crow, and of course she's a professional artist, and someone's taken her picture for this book or whatever. But there are other pictures of people in their studios. Let's see. I hope. Yes, look. Okay, this one. And this is what led me to the second chapter of the show tonight. But this wonderful book, Communion of the Spirits, which we're going to talk about more after the cake break. But this is an incredible book because I was thinking, like, what are the books that have really good pictures of people in their studios? And I thought about Communion of the Spirits. This is a great book of that. And so this is 86-year-old quilter Joseph White. In South Carolina, March 1993. So it's a picture of him sewing, and his studio is the table, you know. Oh my God, I just noticed this. Look at this pin cushion. This is great. Her skirt. That's fantastic. Anyway, he's 86, and this is a great picture. But, like, you know, he was photographed for this book, sewing, and you know, Quilt Folk has a lot of pictures of people in their studio sewing. But you don't have to have a magazine or a photographer present, you know. You don't have to have an occasion. And I think it'd be really good to just get pictures of you making quilts, you know. Hey, Judy, thank you so much. So just have somebody do it. Do you have pictures of yourself? I mean, do you have pictures of yourself sewing? Do you think about it?
Yeah,
you do?
I do have pictures of myself working a lot of times. Well, one challenge I have is I kind of have my studio space is kind of spread out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That, you know, the sizes of my rooms are not great, but and I don't have great light. So, but I have had people take pictures of me when I'm working.
Oh,
so,
good.
And I like that. It's cool. It's candid and
yeah. It seems like not a bad idea, right? To have it, because I think people would like to see you. You know, like to see what it was like, and to see you. You know, this is from. I try my best to not tell you. I mean, I don't know, whatever. I used this book on the last show, I think, The Fine Art of Quilting. And it was on the top of the stack. And I was like, okay, good. Another reason for people to get this book is that it has the more pictures that I would recommend, or the more pictures that I like. And many of them are of people in their studio. This is from that book. This is a woman, Wendy Holland. She's sewing in her studio. And this picture is in this book, Fine Art of Quilting. So another reason to get it. But yeah, I mean, seeing people where they actually create is pretty good. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a dedicated studio? Quilt Idaho, can we do a segment of people's workspaces? You'd be willing to put it together to send to Quilt Nerd. Hey, that's a great idea. That is such a great idea. Yes, like Quilt Nerd workspaces. I love that idea. Quilt Idaho, that's such a great idea. Because we do a Quilt Nerd on Parade show, which will be coming up before too long. Quilt Nerd workspaces, Quilt Nerd studio show, the Quilt Nerd studio show. That's really, really great. I like that idea. I like that idea if people could see each other's studios. And hey, Dee Marie, and also Robin, we were talking about the First Quilts show. And I asked a couple weeks ago, like, if you have pictures of your first quilt that you ever made, it would be great to do a show showing Quilt Nerd's first quilts that they ever made. I would love to do that. And so if you want to send that in, you can. But Robin, will you put in the chat the deadline for that? Because we talked about that a little bit this week. Okay. Here is one from that book, The Fine Art of Quilting. Sabine du Tertre. She's in France, and this is where she keeps her fabric, or at least where she did for a while. I think it was in the 1990s that this picture was taken, but that's where she kept her fabric. It almost seems like some kind of barn, or, you know, it doesn't look like it's her house. It seems like it's a studio that's outside of her house. Yeah. Quilts for Sweet Dreams, send in a picture to the email. Yes, to the, hey Margaret, to the Quilt Nerd Show at gmail.com. Yeah, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com is our email address. And yeah, if you send in a picture of your studio, I don't know when that show will be. We'll have to figure out how to organize that. But send in a picture of your quilting space, or where you send quilts, and just put in the subject line, you know, my quilt space or my sewing space, and we'll put it into a folder, you know, and we'll just start gathering that. And at some point when that is figured out, when that show will be, we'll say this is the cutoff for sending those things, and I'll figure that out. But this is an idea that comes on the fly, but we'll work it out how to do that, because it sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, so, okay, a couple other studios here. That's for later. Hang on. Yeah, here's one. Okay, great. Robin pinned the first quilt deadline notice to the top of the chat. Excellent. Robin says, please send an email to quiltnerdshow@gmail.com with a picture and short explanation of your first quilt before Sunday, before midnight tomorrow night. If you'd like your first quilt ever to be featured on the show, get it in before tomorrow night at midnight, and we'll do it. We'll talk about it. So here is Marilyn Price. Eva, I see that. Hey, Kenny. Yeah, this woman's working on a quilt for the Artist and the Quilt project in the 1980s. Interesting. She's working there. And then, okay, this one is really good too. I wanted to show this one. Just a couple more, and then we'll take the break, and I'll be back with some more really beautiful images of quilters and their quilts that I don't know. I just really want to show them to you because they're beautiful. From the Communion of the Spirits, that book. This one, I liked seeing this because this is, I mean, it's a studio in a different way. This is a quilt frame that is on pulleys. It's on a pulley system, it's on a pulley system. It's got a quilt being quilted on it, and it's raised up to the ceiling when it's not being worked on. And I've heard about this. I mean, we've read about it. We know that people did this. This is how they got their quilts quilted. They didn't have room for a big, quilting frame set up all the time, so they would put a quilting frame on rope, on pulleys, and wheel it down or bring it down when they were working on it, and scoot it back up to the ceiling when they weren't. Hey, Rita. And so I had never seen an actual photograph of a quilt frame with a quilt loaded on it, hauled up like that. But this is a picture in the book Communion of the Spirits, and it's just it's so cool. I mean, oh my God! And the person, it's Murtis W. Lord's bedroom, with a quilting frame suspended from the ceiling. And it was taken, this photograph, in Bienville Parish, Louisiana, in 1990. I just think it's really great, really interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You couldn't give up a ceiling fan, says Kenny. I know, especially in Louisiana. Oh no. Yeah, the Dresden quilt is really good. It's really good, the orange. Mm-hmm. I wonder what this is over here. This looks like a fun quilt too. So yeah, so you've got the little, I mean, Colonial Lady is what I've seen. That it's not Sunbonnet Sue, you know, it's something else, but I don't know if it's called a million different things, I'm sure. Okay. So there is that, and there was I loved this one in terms of a studio. Chuck Stone, former columnist for the Philadelphia Daily News, and his wife Louise D. Stone. The quilts were made by her grandmother. So I liked this. It isn't a studio exactly, but when I saw this picture, this is in Pennsylvania in 1989. When I saw this picture, I thought the man was sewing. Like, I was flipping through, and I was like, oh, he's got a sewing machine. I'm like, oh, he's so great with his bow tie and his sewing machine. But no, he's a journalist, and he's writing something, and there's his wife. But the quilts are there. It's not exactly a studio. It's a studio of a different kind. But I loved seeing this. This, you know, these quilts in their life, and these quilts, you know, in action, right? In action in these people's lives. Okay. Let's see. We saw that one. And then this one here. This is Melissa Banks in Mississippi, 1976. 1976, you know, that's her studio, right? It's where she's quilting the quilt. And someone said, I think it was somebody in the Jean Ray Laurie book, Getting It All Together at Home, they said, you have a studio anytime, or like the moment you don't take your sewing machine off the table where you're working, that's your studio. Like, if you just leave it up and you leave your fabric out, you have created your studio. And so anywhere you work, that's where it is. What I was going to ask before is how many people have a dedicated space? I do not. I don't at all, actually. Hey, Cindy. Yeah, I don't know. You've got a studio, right, Stephanie? Do you have an actual...
You know, I mean, I've commandeered whole rooms of my house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I basically have 2 studios, and they're on different floors of my house.
Oh, nice.
Not really helpful, because I have to transport things in between.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you have to go up and down the stairs? Like, is it 2? You said 2 floors, right? Oh, that's not good. Well, it sounds pretty good to me. Having that much space would be cool. All right. So here's where we're going to stop, and then we're going to go to the cake break. I wanted to show this picture. This is Anna Williams, and we've talked about Anna Williams on the show before several times. I pulled this because it's one of the pictures from this book, Communion of the Spirits, and I had never seen this picture of Anna. Well, I'd seen it, but I've gone through the pictures in this book, but I had not really understood. Hey, Grace, I had not understood in my memory that there was this picture of Anna Williams out there. That was so beautiful. I've only seen 2 pictures of Anna Williams, and they are pretty grainy. They're not very high resolution. We did an article about Anna Williams in Quilt Folk's 7th issue on Louisiana, focused on Louisiana. The quilts that we photographed that were Anna Williams made, Anna Williams passed away in the 2000s, I believe. Yeah. They're some of the most beautiful quilts I've ever seen. And Anna Williams lived in Baton Rouge, and she made quilts that look like this. I've got other pictures of her quilts. The reason that I included her is because, I've never seen this picture of her, and it's so wonderful. Roland Freeman took this picture. We'll talk more about him after the break. But her studio was her bedroom, and her bedroom was quite small. So she's pictured in her studio, which is her bedroom. And she pieced these extremely not complicated, extremely. There was her. She had very small pieces in her quilts, very tiny, like really small, miniature almost, and then these long strips of quilts. Of fabric. And from what I understand from talking to people who knew her, and from seeing, seeing her in her space. She did it. She said she would watch her stories. She'd turn on the television and watch her stories or soap operas and make her quilts. And so this was her studio. And I thought that was really interesting. And then that kind of led me to look at a few other things in the book that we'll look at, the Roland Freeman book. Okay. So that is Anna Williams and Catherine Watts. So anyway, hey Robin. So I am going to take a break and give it over to Cake, and I'll be back. And there's so much to talk about. Yeah, I get excited. Okay, so Stephanie, I'm going to toss it to you.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you there's a new slide for you, but I have to.
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen
it yet.
I'm gonna do it like this, but I have to organize it a little bit. I apologize because, hang on. This is the old one, but we have the new one. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of myself, and you just go ahead, Cake, and I'm gonna do the thing. Sorry, today is like major crack up. Okay, so
okay. So I have been a bad cake. I forgot to remind Mary on Tuesday that we had not done the January drawing yet. So we're going to have to do that today. And I don't know if either one of us are exactly sure what was supposed to be up for grabs this month or this past month. So, Dr. Dutton Smut, you guys. So I will do a drawing and the winner we will be in touch and we'll let you know. So you guys know the drawings are always good stuff. So. But before I get to that, I wanted to talk about, oh my God, Mary, what is this?
I know. I'm so sorry that it's not.
I can see his head.
I know. It's his head. I know. Oh, God. I mean, it's just, I thought I had it ready. But anyway, yes. I'm going to move the chat box so no one will get, okay, yes. Mm-hmm. Wait till you're going to love it. It's worth the wait. Poor
Dr. Dutton.
And here's the thing is that when you told me the story about the sewing machine, I had to add it. That's why I was late getting it ready, because you told me, and that's what I want you to talk about on, I mean, I hope you'll mention the sewing machine thing because it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Okay. Yeah. All right. You see? Look at that.
Oh my God. And you got a picture of it?
Yes. That's why it's late. Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
I guess I have to explain like what the sewing machine is about too. So I have like 12 things to talk about. So the sewing machine is, this is a Singer Genie, which was only made for 2 years. I think 73 and 74. My neighbor found one in her attic. I think she knew it was there, but was going to throw it away and left it at my doorstep if I wanted it. And I was like, well, of course, you can't throw a sewing machine away. That's terrible. And it sat in my house for like 5, 6, maybe longer years. And I started taking a sewing machine repair class. And so today I made something. I fabricated something for this sewing machine because I can't find feet for it. Singer's, it's usually easy to find little rubber feet to go on all of these, antique machines. I know lots of you have them, these antique machines. But this particular little guy, I could not find feet. So I am an enterprising cake, and I made a silicone mold of the dry rotted feet, and I am in the process of fabricating feet. So that fascinated Mary, and that is what I did today. But what I really wanted to talk to you guys about is what I got really excited about. Some of you may have seen the Six Know-It-Alls, their talks. So if you don't know the Six Know-It-Alls, they are Barbara Brackman, Mary Kay Waldvogel, Debbie Cooney, Alden O'Brien, and who are the other two? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the other person. So anyway, the Six Know-It-Alls do this really cool talk every month. They get together and they are the OGs of quilt history. Julie Silber. That's the other person I was trying to remember. Xenia Cord, I know, is often comes in. Yes, there's a lot of big names, but I think Julie Silber was who I was missing. in any event, I haven't been able to watch their talks in a while, and I caught up on one that was in December. It was about the Roosevelt years, and I don't know how many of you are interested in the 1930s. I'm kind of obsessed with that era, and so I was really excited they were going to talk about it. And I knew Mary Kay Waldvogel and Barbara Brackman both have done a lot of work, with 1930s type stuff, and I'll get to that in a minute. But a cool thing that Mary Kay Waldvogel talked about, which I didn't know a whole lot about, was the Milwaukee WPA project. And I won't get into like the long drawn out stuff about what the WPA project is, but suffice it to say, if you're not in the US, it was some stuff that was created in the 1930s to help alleviate sort of the horrors of the Great Depression. It was basically like public assistance, and transitioning people out of that public assistance into jobs. So there, long story short, there was a very cool book called Useful Work for Unskilled Women, a unique Milwaukee WPA project. And it is written by Mary Kellogg Rice. And the really cool thing about her, and I'm going to put a link in here. It's, I don't think Mary minds when I just randomly create links. This book is not entirely about quilts, but quilting and sewing was one thing that they did. And the cool thing is Mary Kellogg Rice, I haven't checked. If she's still alive, she would be way over 100. So I think she probably passed away sometime within the past decade or so. But I think she was pushing 90 when she wrote this book. And she was one of the people involved in starting this program up. And so it's so fascinating. Like, she could write about it from like first person. There's all these wonderful pictures of women that were like destitute, had very little skills, and they were pulled in. And long story short, basically it was a really rousing success. And they created things for like the nursery schools and the hospitals and some of the other like institutions that came out of the WPA process. So it's really kind of a feel-good story, sort of, and it's so interesting. So Mary Kay talked about that book, and she has a quilt from the WPA project.
Oh yeah.
And it's very cool. It is in another book. I saw it the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, it's this cute little sailboat quilt. Anyway, so to kind of take it to Dr. Dutton now, as I was talking to Mary Kay Waldvogel not too long ago.
Woo-hoo.
And she mentioned that when she and Barbara Brackman wrote the Patchwork Souvenirs book, which is it's about this big quilt contest that Sears and Roebuck that Sears and Roebuck put together for the 1933 was it the World's Fair? And a bazillion people, literally a bazillion people, like sent quilts in for. I want to say, like, there has never been any other type of exhibition where that many quilts got sent in. Like, by a magnitude. I want to say it was something crazy, like 20,000 quilts.
25?
Like, it was insane.
25?
Okay. Yeah. Insane
Crazy.
Amount of quilts, so you can imagine. And it was because there was a big prize, right? There was this monetary prize. Well, it was a huge success. And, there's some things about it that are interesting. But what was really interesting is Mary Kay and Barbara were having trouble finding out about rehanging the show, because there had been this big call for people to the person who put together the show, they wanted to rehang it. The woman who put together the show, her name is Sue Roberts, and she did not call Sears and Roebuck the Merchant Princes. She, and I will read this to you because I read it once and I thought she was calling them big babies essentially, but I'm not sure. So let me read this to you. This is a letter that Sue Roberts wrote to my boyfriend, Dr. Dutton. She says, and this is in 1934, she says, Mr. Sears and Roebuck have temporarily lost their enthusiasm for quilts and have turned to babies instead. And so I'm not sure if she's saying they have turned into big babies, or if she's saying they're done with quilts, babies are the new thing. So I don't know. Are they
Quilts
interested in babies?
Babies are hot. Quilts are not.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what she's saying, or if she's just saying these two turds turned into a bunch of babies when I wanted to rehang the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was so interesting. So this letter was in Dr. Dutton's papers, and Mary Kay and Barbara then found it and were able to look at the correspondence between Sue Roberts and Dr. Dutton, and basically found. Yes, people are saying baby picture contest. You know what? I bet that is it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I bet you're right, because now I remember seeing things like, okay, well, Sue Roberts was not, giving them the business as I thought initially, but it was a little laugh, right?
Yeah.
So that's your Dr. Dutton for the week.
That's good.
I got tied up reading the PA Project book, and I mean, I really highly recommend it. It is so fascinating.
It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, during a time when, 1930s, granted, this is Milwaukee, this is not the Jim Crow South, but these women they fully, and it was women running this project, and there were men involved, but these were women that were heading up this project. They fully integrated the workroom. They were like, we don't care if you are young, old, middle-aged, black, white, get in here, ladies. And they said that the women's self-esteem, their health improved, their self-esteem improved. They were able to, provide for their families. It is such a great story. So,
yes.
With that, I need to do the giveaway, Mary.
I got it. I got it. I got the book.
Okay, Mary remembered.
I remembered. Hang on, let me grab it. You know what? So I've got to do a thing for Quilt Folk. There's a wonderful thing in Uncovering's American Quilt Study Group journal, the journal they publish each year with the research papers. And I think, so Mary Kay wrote about the WPA project in she wrote a paper about it, and it's in Uncoverings, and I don't know which year, but I'm pretty sure it's in one of the years I just looked at, because for the Patchwork and Prose workshop for Quilt Folk, I do this segment each month. It's a block of the month thing. And this month it's like scary books. They're talking about scary books. Anyway, so I'm looking at like scary things. And in one of the Uncoverings, I think it's in 1999, there's something about the vampire quilt. Yeah, the vampire quilt. Someone researched a quilt that was said to have been made by a vampire. In Rhode Island, this woman made this quilt, and the woman who brought it to the Rhode Island Quilt Documentation Days, she was like, yes, here's a quilt. Let's document it for this Rhode Island, quilt documentation project. And you should know that it was made by a woman who was accused of being a vampire. Yes, and this woman made this quilt, and her grave was exhumed because the townspeople in 1892, way later than they should have been worried about vampires, in my opinion, they said she was a vampire. And they exhumed her grave. It's ridiculous, but the vampire quilt, it's pretty freaky. Anyway, hang on one second. But anyway, Mary Kay writes about the WPA project, and I think it's in the same issue. I'll find out.
That is fascinating. Yeah. I knew about the vampire scare back then, but I was not aware that there was a quilt made by one of these poor people. So,
yeah, it's kind of.
I'm going to do this D20 style.
D20? What is that? Is that something the kids say? D20?
A D20. It's a 20-sided die.
Oh, a 20-sided die.
Yes, for playing the Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, of course. Eric would be very disappointed in me. He's not really D&D, but he's D&D adjacent. Okay, here's the deal. You ready for this? Here's where you are rewarded for being a subscriber. Thank you for going with me tonight. Tonight is one of those nights that I have so much to say, and I'm so excited about it that it's hard. Sometimes it is hard. Anyway, tonight you're rewarded for being part of this community and being a subscriber. Because tonight, and I didn't even say this before, but tonight's giveaway book is really good. If you're a subscriber, you get entered into the giveaways. And we have giveaways a lot. We have giveaways every month. We give away a book every month, and it's a nerdy quilt book. And we also give like special giveaways, anniversary week, Christmas, New Year's. I mean, there's all kinds of things, And Yvonne, Quilt Tops by Yvonne has given away long arm services several times, which is incredible. We also have there's just things. We give away things. So if you're a subscriber, you get entered into those giveaways. And one day, Quilt Nerd will have thousands of people who subscribe. It will happen if you just keep doing things, for long enough. One, sort of probably, if you just don't go away, people are, they just, Anyway, so right now is a really good time to subscribe because, you don't have 1,000 people in the mix. You have however many hundreds of people. So anyway, so this is the giveaway book this time. Homefront and Battlefield, Quilts and Context in the Civil War. People, this book is very, very special. It is by Madeline Shaw and Lynn Zacek Bassett. I don't know Madeline Shaw, but I certainly know La Zacek Bassett. She's the Massachusetts quilt book is her. She's Northern Comfort. Anyway, she's a big deal. She's very important. She was the editor of Uncoverings for a long time. This book is the American Textile History Museum, a nonprofit institution in Lowell, Massachusetts, tells America's story through the art, science, and history of textiles. So this was published by American Textile History Museum in Lowell, Massachusetts, where the New England Museum of Quilts is. And Jill Alex volunteers there. And this is about quilts in the Civil War. Quilts and context in the Civil War. And it's not even opened yet, people. It's not even opened. This is a virginal, fresh book, and it can be yours. It may be yours in the next few seconds. Stephanie Cake, are you ready with that randomized number thing that I don't know how to do, and I'm really glad that you know how to do?
I am. I was gonna try and make it cute with the D20. I got a 19 with a factor of 1. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Hey, Kitty.
Small Town Roots.
Kitty Hannah, hi.
You are the winner this month.
Small Town Roots?
January.
Small Town Roots? Small Town Roots won.
Yeah. Is Small Town Roots here tonight?
I thought I saw her. Or him. I don't know. Small Town Roots, you won. Is Ivana here? Oh my God, Ivana. Oh, it's so good to see you. Small Town Roots, so, I swear.
This is the beauty of being a subscriber. You don't have to be here.
You don't have to be here.
You could catch up on the replay and find out wonderful things.
You won. You won. Small Town Roots. It is so... You know what? I got Small Town Roots. I'm into it. I approve. You just won a book. Isn't that cool? And I'll write you a little note, and you'll get your book. And it can ship media mail,
Kitty,
which means it takes a long time, but it'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, Kitty Hannah, can you see it? Yeah. She just asked for the title. It's Home.
Oh, yes.
Homefront and Battlefield.
Homefront and Battlefield, Quilts and Context in the Civil War. I have a copy. I don't know how how do I have a sealed copy? I don't know. I know I've got it over there. It's really great. We haven't talked about the Civil War stuff in a while. There's a lot to say about it. A lot of quilts, from what I understand, there were many, many quilts at that time, right? Because 1860s, like, it's a big quilt making time before and after. But, like, a lot of quilts were used and used up, in the South. There was a lot of, destruction in the North and the South, and so a lot of quilts didn't make it, through the war. So it's interesting, and really, I should sit down and read that book in Small Town Roots. Another thing we talked about book reports. So I'd love to have Quilt Nerds on the show. I would love to have guests and talk about things. And one of the really cool ways to do it would be to do Quilt Nerd book reports, where if you win a book, you read it, and then we talk about it on the show. And I think that would be really cool. The functionality is really the only thing keeping us from it. And hopefully Eric, with all his looking at the system, the software that we use, hopefully he can understand maybe another way to do it, because I would love to have Small Town Roots, on the show to talk about what she learned or what he learned in the book, and we can talk about it, and I can learn from you, So that's another thing. It's like, if you win a book, you might even be on the show if you want to be. It's not like a stipulation. It's not like, if you win a book, you have to be on the show. Just the subscriber count just dives. Just like
everyone's like, I have to do a book report.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right. I have homework now, and I have to be like on the internet live, where I could say anything and just ruin everything. You know what? I do want to say. So no, you don't have to do that. I'm feeling better. Like, I had so much to say, and I was so excited about the Bertha Mextrath video. I was a little like, I don't know. Before the break, I felt a little weird, and then I remembered I didn't have chips. If I don't have chips, it's a problem. I got myself some chips. Now I feel great. Feel ready for the second half of the show. Okay. Let's do this. Let's get small. And I've just got a little bit more for you, you know. We usually do a couple hours here together. Just learn stuff on a Saturday night. I mean, why not? Padma, have I said hi to you yet? I don't know. I'm really glad you're here. I have a couple more thank you notes and things to send out. If you haven't gotten a thank you note from me from something you did over the holidays, I'm pretty close, but it's pretty awesome. I had a lot of people to thank, so I was just thinking about that, and I want you to know that. I have my list. I'm working through it. And this picture I wanted to show you because as I was looking through books for the segment on quilt studios, you know, seeing different people in their different environments, you know, you've seen a couple pictures from this book, Communion of the Spirits, you know, that wonderful 86-year-old man sewing at his Singer machine, and the woman, you saw the quilt frame, the quilt on, loaded up, pulleyed up to the ceiling. And as I was looking through this book, it hit me. This book, Communion of the Spirits by this man, Roland Freeman, has, I'm saying it, like, period, end of. The pictures of people and quilts in Communion of the Spirits are the best pictures of people and their quilts that have been taken ever until Quilt Folk magazine. And we have not like surpassed it, this man's work, but there had never been, and I love my quilt photography, like brothers and sisters, like the people in the publishing quilt business. I mean, I've been working in the quilt industry like for like 12 years or something now, you know, in publishing Quilty magazine, like Fons and Porter stuff, you know, Quilt Folk, and like I love the pictures that we take for Quilt Folk, and we continue to do it. I'm not editor of the magazine anymore, but like Quilt Folk has got it right, you know, taking pictures of quilt makers and quilt people in their environments, and getting photographs that impart a sense of dignity to the people who make quilts and study quilts, and it's so important. And it's sort of like there's never been anything like Quilt Folk, and it's true, except when you look at the pictures in this book by Roland Freeman, who is a photographer. I mean, this man, he's a documentarian. I mean, I can read to you about him. Actually, we should look at. So Roland Freeman is a highly regarded photo documentarian whose work has been exhibited worldwide. He has been a field research photographer for the Smithsonian Institution for more than 20 years. By the way, this book was published by Routledge in 1996, okay? So, yeah. Carol Maslumi is friends with this person. She mentioned him when we had a conversation not too long ago. Anyway, he has been a field research photographer for the Smithsonian Institution for more than 20 years and has been recognized through awards and grants from the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the National Black Arts Festival through its 1994 Living Legend Award. He is president of the Group for Cultural Documentation based in Washington, D.C. His successful commercial career has included assignments for Time, Newsweek, National Geographic, London Sunday Times, Der Stern in Germany, and Paris Match in France. Okay? So he's a photo documentarian who works for Time magazine, right? So he knows what he's doing. And that's the thing. That's the thing about the photographs in this book. I mean, this is Quilts on a Clothesline with Woodpile, okay? Cleola McFarland's backyard. Now, Cleola McFarland, this was taken in 1976, this photograph, in Mississippi, Wilkinson County, Mississippi. Now, it's likely that this picture, I don't know, was a candid shot. Maybe, was it Ms. McFarland was airing her quilts? Maybe she had washed them. Maybe she was just airing them, giving them, look at this quilt over here. Isn't this amazing? Look at this one. So maybe this was something that Mr. Freeman happened upon, okay? Perhaps. But the other pictures in this book, which, by the way, includes pictures of Maya Angelou with her quilt, Alice Walker, in her home with her quilts. Rosa Parks. And did I include those pictures of those 3 women in this presentation tonight? No, I did not. Because you just have to get the book. You got to get the book. I mean, and that's the least of it in this book. But here's the other thing. So this is a posed photograph. I mean, it's not a portrait in so much that he said, okay, now tilt your head down. Rosie Lee Baker, Mr. Freeman was not saying like, give me attitude, Rosie Lee. No. But there are photographs in this book. This was taken in 1977 in Holmes County, Mississippi. The photographs in this book lend a dignity. I mentioned that word before, but a gravitas, like a respect, at the very most fundamental level, a respect for what the people are doing, and the people that he's focusing on are quilt makers. This is a beautiful photograph. It's a beautiful photograph. It's a woman at her home with quilts hanging on a fence on her property. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Here's another one. This picture of Corrine M. Porter. Having done a lot of, and we're gonna look at the quilts a little more closely because they're really good. Having done style photography, I mean, doing stuff out on the road, when you're working on Quilt Folk magazine, you show up at somebody's house. You've never been there before. You do a lot of production work when you're doing that kind of stuff. So you tell them to bring out certain quilts. Maybe they've sent you pictures of quilts that they have, and as an editor, you say, okay, great, this one, have these ready for us when we come. We'll do some. I like those quilts. Those will photograph well, whatever. But you show up at somebody's house, and then you got to make it work. Then you got to figure out, okay, is that fence good? Is that whatever? So I know that what Roland Freeman did is I think so. He went out and he walked, he scouted basically. When he got there, he looked at the property. He saw that he could hang this Lone Star, this amazing Lone Star quilt, right? From this structure. I don't know if it's the house itself. I don't know if it's a shed. But they rigged this. They rigged it up. Because this quilt doesn't live there normally. That's not where it is. They styled this photograph. They brought out a chair for Corrine. And, I'm not sure if it was super, I don't think it doesn't look forced or whatever, but he probably said to her husband here, go and kind of straighten out this quilt or that quilt. And so there's this action shot. There's this, and it's so good. It's a great picture. To me, it's a great picture. You have, Dad, you've got Dad here doing stuff. You've got quilts on the line. I don't know if that's the clothesline or not, but they hung quilts on a line. And so what you have is this picture of this woman with her quilts. There's action, and it's so good. It reminds me of a Quilt Folk photograph insofar as there's humanity here. And I have a lot of books about quilts. I have a lot of books, and so do you, And I'm trying to think about another book that's like this, and I can't think of one. And maybe I just haven't thought that long, and it has been a long day. I saw where Bertha Mextrath lived, that was kind of intense. Maybe that's why it's been a long day. But this is a really, really good book because of these photographs. And by the way, I've never seen one of these donkey or mule quilts in the wild, as it were. I've seen a million pictures of these donkey quilts in books. I've seen red, white, and blue donkey quilts or mule quilts, but I've never seen one hanging on the line at anybody's house.
And that one is so good.
It's so good. It's so good. It's not a log cabin, but I think it's the quilting that makes it look log cabin-y. But it's so good. It's browns.
And I don't think so. That and we keep going with this WPA time period.
Yeah.
That donkey was released, I think, during the Roosevelt years, and
Yes.
I think the pattern I've actually seen is less detailed than that. Like whatever she's done with its ears,
Yeah, let's
is
zoom.
so much more detailed than what like the original pattern, I think.
You're right.
But yeah,
You're right.
The donkey is called, and I heard Julie Silver talk about recently. She called it Gidap.
Oh,
And
really?
it's spelled Giddap.
Oh,
I think it's actually supposed to be giddy up.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And whoever named it just spelled it like gid. Oh, Gid. Gid. Oh, D up.
Giddy up. Oh, nice. Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. It's supposed to be giddy up.
I like that. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I think Quilt Idaho, yes, here at all the men who have held up quilts for photos. You know what? The men, I've seen them. They've been sitting there. They sit and they wait for the lady. Their woman. They wait for their woman, at the quilt show. And I know, of course, it's spouses, it's partners, whatever. I'm talking specifically about the dudes, the dudes, and they're not quilters. Look, we've looked at several guys tonight who are very involved in the quilt world, right? Roland Freeman, this fellow who's 86 years old making quilts on his, on his table with his Singer machine. Watch this show long enough, you'll know that. I mean, it takes everybody, right? Like we're everyone's welcome here at Quilt Nerd. It doesn't really matter these things, but there are men. I have seen the men who are they just are lovely and patient. They do not care so much about the quilts, but they love their wives, and they wait while they shop, and they wait at the quilt shows, and they hang the stuff, and they help build the shed where their wife wants to make quilts, they help find space for her. And I do thank all those guys, and I've seen them, and I have one myself, I mean, look, tonight, we saw Eric drove me to Glencoe. He was like, do, and I'm like, oh my God, look at that house, he's like, okay, yeah, absolutely, let's go to Glencoe, honey. So another thing that's, another example of the wonder of this book are these, Yvonne, you've got a guy he's behind every great man is, it's a great woman, a great person beyond the binary. It doesn't matter. Behind every great person is somebody who loves them. Let's put it like that. And I know that behind every great quilter, there's somebody who loves them too. I don't know. Anyway, these portraits, some of the portraits in Roland Freeman's book are just there's no other portraits like this in any other books that I see. This is Barbara Paitila in Baltimore County, Maryland, October 1991. And what's important to say is that all of these pictures are attended by stories and words from the person about the quilts that they make. But I mean, most of the pictures, not all of them, but most of the pictures in Quilt Folk, the person is smiling, or perhaps they're working in their studio. But for the most part, you have like people like, I'm happy, because that's what we are happy. But when you have a photojournalist, a photo documentarian like Roland Freeman working in this space to document quilt makers, you're able to get photographs like this, which are, to me, this is beautiful to me. Same with, let's see, there's another one, I believe. Did I get, oh no, that's a smiley one. Hang on. Yeah, this one. This is great too. Melody Gordon Healy, Baltimore County, Maryland, again, October 1991. I mean, I don't know. I think part of the reason that I like this kind of photograph is because as quilt makers, we have to fight against this stereotype of us being, I don't know, one kind of person. Sometimes that person that we are stereotyped as is over 60. Oh no. Oh no. Imagine that, it's like, oh yeah, that's a bad thing somehow, it's stupid. We have to fight against the idea that we are, I don't know, uncool. In fact, I talked to somebody in Los Angeles recently, and she did say, she's like, quilting isn't considered cool. It's just not. It's just not considered cool. And I I disagree. I just do. I disagree. I think the people that I know are very cool, and I think nerds are cool. If you're really, really enthusiastic about something, if you're really into what you're into, I think that's really cool. So of course I think quilt nerds are cool, but like, we have to fight against this idea that we're just, I don't know, shallow, that we're just like into making crafts or something. I don't know. It's confusing. So when I see portraits like this that show a person and not some stereotype, I get really excited. And Roland Freeman makes these kinds of photographs. Look at this. I mean, this is a photograph from the book, and there's not a quilt in it. Wanda G. Pearson, Fulton County, Georgia, October 1993. I mean, God, it's great. So in the book, she is, let's see, page 323. What does she say? Part of the reason I was kind of behind tonight was I was scanning all of these photographs, and it's so important to me to label them correctly. Because like if I just have this photograph of this woman and I don't have the file name that I have, which is page 323, Communion Spirits, Wanda G. Pearson, photo, 1993, then why scan it? Why take the time? I have to label it so that one day I'll be able to find it and understand. So this woman says, Georgia. Roland Freeman says, quote, let's see what he says. It's not long. I began a couple of weeks of field work in October in 1993 in Savannah. Hang on. Wanda Pearson. Oh, maybe that's not where that is. Oh, the Women of Color Quilters Network. Darlene Dandridge. Okay. I'm not going to read it. You need to get the book, okay? You need to get the book. I don't want to keep searching for it because I'm throwing a lot at you tonight, but it's worth taking a look at all of the stories. One of the things that I hadn't seen in a long time was this picture of Clementine Hunter's house. He goes to Melrose, Louisiana. And this is what I mean by styling. Clementine Hunter was a woman who lived on Melrose Plantation. There's a great story in the Quilt Folk issue number 7 about Louisiana. She made very iconic quilts. She was a folk artist. She painted, she did some sculpture, and she made quilts. And this building where she lived and had her studio was an old slave quarters on Melrose Plantation. And Melrose Plantation is very interesting. It became kind of an artist's, not colony, but it was a place where artists live, and it was a retired plantation. And so Clementine Hunter, artist, you can see that's the sign that hung above her studio, and her quilts looked like this. But I mean, the quilts I've seen of Clementine Hunter's have been flat shots, because some of her quilts are in museums. But Roland Freeman went to Melrose Plantation, and he was able to hang a quilt by Clementine Hunter in the doorway to her studio in that structure. I mean, it's so great. And I know this book, whatever, but as I was looking for people in their studios, that's what took me back to that book. I was like, oh, there's really good pictures of people in their studios. And it was in looking through the book again with that in mind that I saw how special it is, and that the photographs that he took are they're really special. They're really remarkable, like this, and like this, and like this. This is the last one I have for you, but this the quilt behind this girl, Huisha Kiongozi, Fulton County, Georgia, October 1993. I mean, it's so great. It's so 93. I mean, it's just like, it couldn't be more 1993. I'm just like, oh God, I was a freshman in high school. Like, yes. Like, there's some sort of tie-dyes, or, I mean, it's just, yes. There was a lot of fabric in the quilt world, too, that had kind of this kind of look. And anyway, it's great. She's beautiful. That's a quilt that either she made or that's in her family, and it's wonderful. And Roland Freeman, thank you so much. And it made me want to write him a letter. I don't know. I like writing letters, and it made me want to tell him thank you. It made me want to, I don't know, send him a copy of Quilt Folk and be like, if we're half as good as you were or are, then we're doing something right. So there you go. That's a glowing recommendation. She's Presh in Purple, Druid Godmother. That's what I'm saying. Presh in Purple. When did Purple Rain come out? No, that was in the 80s. That was before.
Purple Rain was 1983.
Okay. 10 years before. I don't know. But yes, it's very good. Okay, so that's the show. You guys, that's the show. That's the show. We can talk more about Anna Williams sometime. It's been a crack up of a show. I had so much to tell you that, I don't know. Like, I hope you were hanging on. I hope you could hang on for the ride. I love you so much, and you love the letters. Good. Some of y'all have gotten a little note from me at some point, and I really do like writing letters and notes. I really do. I'm trying to think what else to say. Oh, there's no show on Tuesday. And I told Susanna a while ago, and I think it's on the schedule, but it's hard. Yes, but I'll make sure. Did you know that? Did we talk about it? It's been a while since we decided.
But yeah, I know I haven't been there for some of the scheduling discussions, so.
I am going
Good to know. Thank you.
Good to know. I thought perhaps, yeah, okay. So there's no show on Tuesday, and the reason I was going to take the night off is I thought I would have something that I couldn't move on Tuesday. And then it got switched to Wednesday. And I thought, you know what? I think it's actually okay to take a show off. I think that's what we learned at TwitchCon. That's what people say. And I was like, you know what, Mare? It's not like the worst thing in the world to say the thing didn't have to. I didn't have to, but, it's okay. So, I'm just being transparent about it. I'm not going to be like, I have a thing and I can't do the show, if that's not true. So, in fact, I thought I had a conflict, but I don't. But I'm going to go ahead and take that night off. You should have the night off, too. God bless you. You show up, for the shows, and I appreciate it a lot. And, Cake, you get the night off, too. It's like, look, if I was like, I'm going to do the show anyway, that means you would do the show, too. And so you should have a night off, too, Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. The least I can do. Thanks everybody for coming to the show. Do you have anything else, Cake? Do you have anything else you wanted to throw in?
I don't think so. I know Robin has been posting a thing about your first quilt. I need to do mine.
Yeah,
Hopefully the weather will cooperate tomorrow. I've got to show you guys that atrocity that I have hanging on my banister.
Oh yeah. Well, I really want to see it. Everybody will want to see it for sure. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming with us tonight on this journey, and thank you, Eva. Yeah, I got to talk to the students on Monday. I'm going to give a talk to the quilters tomorrow night, and then the students on Monday. So, okay, everybody, take care of yourselves. Be good. Thank you to all my subscribers, and if you resubscribed tonight or liked the stream or anything, I appreciate you, and I saw you, and I'm going to get the transcript later, so I will spiritually, psychically thank you also again. Okay, bye, everybody. Take care.